Welcome to the TopRank Marketing News Roundup. I'm Tiffani Allen.
And I am Joshua Nite.
This is an excellent radio voice.
Thank you. I'm experimenting with dramatic pause.
It's working.
Yeah, I don't want to go full Shatner, but I will occasionally pause for effect. Our first story this week is that Facebook is now letting brands make slideshows directly from their mobile app, which I think is super cool. Turns out 85% of us, we marketers, are using the mobile app for managing pages. So this is not the vanilla Facebook app, it's the Pages app, which is different and probably has some more scary permissions that you have to agree to, but it is useful. So these slideshows are basically short videos, but you can make them right on the fly. You can do pick pictures from your gallery, upload pictures, even add some text to them, set your speed that you want it to play, and you have a nice little ad. So these usually run without sound, so it makes sense to add the text in there and make sure it makes sense without the audio component. But the draw for these is they actually get 5,000 to 8,000 views on just like a $15 boost.
Wow.
So they tend to perform well, and they take 5 times less bandwidth as a regular video.
Great.
So if you're looking at people who have crappy cell service, or maybe in an emerging country, this seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to kind of frame up visual storytelling in an advertising perspective too. Especially if you're on the go and you're like, oh no, we have to do the thing. It's a lot faster to do that than track down your laptop and try to connect and do the whole shebang.
Yeah, and it's not just for brands. If you want to force people to look at your vacation photos, you could do that. If you want total strangers to have to look at the pictures you took at Disney World, you could put a little slideshow and boost it, and then they would have to see it.
Look, I stood in a line. Everybody knows now.
Make marketing your life.
According to a recent report, the biggest struggle that marketers face with influencer marketing is actually proving value in their efforts. 28% of marketers surveyed said that gathering data was a challenge, and 13% do not know what metrics to track, which is interesting to hear. But that being said, 60% of marketers surveyed were tracking 5 metrics or more, including traffic, social media shares, and conversions.
I think, at the very least, just give your influencers some trackable URLs, and that gives you something to start with. You know what influencer is sharing, which ones to cut from the list.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's actually kind of tricky, of course, to track a lot of the metrics when you're relying on somebody else to share content for you, but it's not impossible, and it just takes a little bit of pre-planning. What's interesting though is that 40% of the marketers surveyed, 44% didn't know how to track the ROI of their influencer marketing efforts, and 70% don't think that their tracking metrics are reliable.
That makes me wonder why you start your program if you don't know how to track the ROI. Like, let's nail that down at the beginning, folks.
Right.
We can do that. We can do better. My second story, and I think you gave me this story because you like the way I say the name of this particular company.
It's true.
Is Instagram.
Cool clip.
Instagram is... Anyway, turns out 25% of the ads that are viewed on Instagram are video. And these videos have gone up in length, in their average length, from 10 seconds to 25 seconds in the past year. So as the article helpfully did the math for me, that's a 67% increase in the duration of the videos, which means that in a couple of years, the videos are going to be like 3 minutes long.
Wow.
And are going to be all of the content on Instagram. So,
You think so?
Yeah, it's coming.
Sort of like a video platform where you can share videos that you've made yourself, something like that. Something like that exists?
So something like the tube that we watch, but one that's all about you.
Yeah, like a YouTube.
A tube for you, yes. I also found it interesting in this article, though, they break down the type of company that's advertising on Instagram, and it turns out, like Facebook, games are the number one.
Really?
Yeah, and those free games, like Mobile Strike or Ogre Stomp or whatever, like, hey, this is a free game and it's ad supported, and what are the ads inside the free game? For other free games.
Oh, yes.
So Instagram is supporting this house of cards of free services, paying for advertising for other free services. Pinterest, by the way, is the only major platform where games is not the #1 advertiser. So
interesting.
I'm way out of Pinterest's demographic, but that kind of makes me want to go there.
You could make cakes.
I could pin things. You don't know.
Dream closet.
Son, get to the dream closet.
Interesting insights into the life of Joshua Nite.
My parents used to lock me in the dream closet. Yes, it was actually a nightmare closet, but go ahead. Thanks for dredging up those painful memories. What else do you have for me today?
We'll be calling up some adults to help Josh with his feelings. Our last story of the day is that Google has warned that it will crack down on intrusive interstitials, which I find to be a delightful term, in January, saying that those ads are very difficult and problematic for people who are using a small screen to do their search. So how they define those are websites that are showing a pop-up when somebody comes in from search results from the SERP, whether that's immediately or after they've been scrolling content for a while. We've all experienced that where you're like, I am doing research on the go, and then there's a big pop-up and you're like, this is ruining everything. The second is displaying a standalone interstitial that a user has to actually close out of or exit out of in order to access the content on the site. So those are two things that, of course, everyone who uses the internet is well aware of, but they are very, very common to see. So I'm wondering how that's going to change strategy, especially when it comes to blog content that typically you do see those subscribe pop-ups or come to our event pop-ups. Might be an interesting change in the way that marketers are structuring their site to avoid getting penalized.
I mean, on the surface of it, you could say that that's bad for marketers because it's taking some of those techniques away from them. On the other hand, though, the reason that Google is doing that is because the end user doesn't like it.
Right.
So if your audience doesn't like it, then you can't be really mad that somebody's taking it away. It's an opportunity to engage in a different way, in a way that actually lets me read your content without having to poke a thing. And sometimes you poke the thing, it takes you to another thing. Then it says you have a virus and you need to pay $5,000 to get it removed.
It's true, but you don't ever do that.
I wouldn't recommend it.
But it is a reflection.
They didn't even remove the virus. Send those guys to the dream closet.
He works on the internet. It is a reflection, though, of Google's strategy to kind of move toward more of a user-centric optimization kind of way of doing things rather than strictly keyword optimization and structuring your content in a certain way. Google is focusing more on what the user does when they get to your site, whether they engage more, if they're staying there, if they're bouncing right away, anything like that. So I think we'll see a lot of shifts kind of down this alley as time goes on.
Thanks, Google, for keeping us on our toes.
Good job, Google. We'll be back next week with more marketing news stories. You can follow me on Twitter at Tiffani_Allen.
And I am Nite Writes, N-I-T-E Writes.
Or you can follow at TopRank for all of the industry marketing news you could ever want, dream, or hope of.
And please subscribe to this channel to see more of us and more of other stuff that our agency releases throughout the month and years and days. And you can visit us on the TopRank blog as well, and you can subscribe to that, and we will just send you awesome stuff that we write.
You want.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back next week. See you later.
Goodbye.